Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the most complex, high-stakes source material and distill it into precise, useful knowledge.
And today we are really diving into something dense.
We're looking at a world of extreme privilege, secret societies, and just ruthless personal vengeance, all drawn exclusively from these detailed excerpts of the narrative. Beautiful Venom.
This source material is, it's layered. It's psychologically very, very dense. So our mission today is to map out this intricate web of power at a place called Greystone University.
Right.
Then we need to uncover the specific, and brutal mechanisms of this secret organization known as Vencor.
And maybe most importantly, analyze the extreme personal trauma that is at the heart of everything. It's what drives the protagonist's mission, but it also, it forms the core of her really destructive, really intense relationship.
Yeah, absolutely does.
The dossiers we've reviewed, they provide just incredible detail. We're talking rich character backstories, precise descriptions of these initiation rituals.
Yeah, and explicit criminal activity, it's all laid out. And the emotional trauma is, it's deep.
It really is. It's an unflinching look into how generational wealth and absolute power operate in the shadows, using, prestige as a shield for it all.
And we absolutely must begin with a strong advisory here. The content within these sources is exceptionally intense. It deals with extreme adult themes.
100%.
We will be analyzing scenarios involving really intense power dynamics, including what the sources themselves term as consensual, non-con, dub-con, and primal play, all within the context of these rituals.
And doesn't stop there.
No.
Right.
There are explicit depictions of systemic childhood abuse, violence, and really on-page graphic details about road accident trauma and even murder.
So this world isn't just high stakes. It's emotionally devastating. It's designed to break its participants.
That is its function.
Understood. Okay, let's unpack this. We should start by establishing the ground rules of this universe in part one. The Greystone ecosystem. It's a place where, at least on the surface, everything looks perfect.
Indeed. And Greystone University, or GU, is the centerpiece of this entire operation.
The heart of it all.
It's located in this sprawling, affluent town in the U.S. Northeast. You can just picture it, right? History and staggering generational wealth are not just present, they are actively weaponized.
The whole town is built on it. The architecture, the way it's described, is grand and unassailable.
Exactly. And the university is just a reflection of that. It's known as this prestigious academic powerhouse, churning out future leaders in business, law, sciences, sports medicine.
All the respectable professions.
All of them.
Okay.
But all that prestige, it's really secondary to the real tentacle of power, which is the Vipers hockey team.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That is the essential function of the sports program here. The Vipers aren't just some elite college team.
No, they're a pre-professional enterprise, a breeding ground for future NHL stars. The sources even detail their arena capacity. It's over 10,000. This team operates with the cultural reverence of, a religious institution.
Which is the perfect camouflage.
The perfect camouflage, this massive public visibility lets them hide everything else in plain sight.
It's the ultimate misdirection. The same men who are secretly controlling the entire town are being celebrated on ESPN every weekend.
Precisely. And among the Vipers, there's this untouchable core. They're referred to as the trio.
Okay, let's break that down. Who are they?
So first you have Kane Davenport. He's the captain, the center, wears number 19. He is the face of the team. He's the calculated mind, the heir apparent to this whole dynasty.
The leader.
Then there's Jude Callahan. He's the fearsome right wing, number 71. The sources describe him as just fueled by this unhinged energy. He's huge, and his aggressive play style definitely translates off the ice. He's the muscle, the brute force.
And the third?
And the third is Preston. He doesn't carry the same kind of public profile, but he's consistently, consistently described as the deadliest, the most chaotic of the three.
Wow.
And these three, they are the wealthy legacy students. They are physically dominant and, more importantly, socially invulnerable, untouchable.
We also see this brief but important connection to their main college rival, the Stanton Wolves. That's where our protagonist Dahlia initially studied.
Right, and that detail is there to emphasize her complete outsider status. She's trying to breach this totally closed system.
But the true institutional power that's governing Greystone, it isn't the Board of Trustees, it's not the university president. It's Vencor.
Vencor is the shadow force. It's a secret society, and its influence stretches back to the very founding of the town and the university itself.
So it's generational.
Completely. This organization ensures that power isn't diluted, it's not earned through merit. No, it's manipulated, it's transferred, and it is handed down strictly through the generations of four elite families.
And who are they?
The Davenports, the Callahans, the Armstrongs, and the Osbornes.
And they don't just live in the nice part of town, right? The sources are specific.
Very specific. They live in Ravenswood Hill, which is described as this heavily secured, exclusive, gated enclave. It's physically separate from the town, shrouded in mist, which just suggests their operations exist outside of normal human visibility.
Right.
Or morality.
And their control is total because their coordination is total.
It's an ecosystem. The Davenports control centuries-old trade and massive real estate empires. The Armstrongs have energy and industry. And then, critically, the Callahans, led by a man named Julian Callahan, own the town's largest pharmaceutical company and the hospital.
A hospital? Wow.
Think about that combination. Trade, energy, and medicine. It gives them total infrastructural control over everything and everyone.
Which means Vencor is basically a corporate board that operates completely outside the law. And they protect this structure with defined ranks.
Yes, the structure is rigid. It confirms that generational hierarchy. We know of a few ranks from the sources. There's the trial rank for initiates,
Okay.
then the general member rank. Above that is the senior rank, which is held by the trio Kane, Jude, and Preston.
And at the very top.
At the very top is the founder tier. This position is strictly reserved for those born into those four founding families. You cannot achieve founder status through wealth or service or loyalty. It must be inherited. It's in the blood.
So this brings me back to something you mentioned earlier. Why use a sports team? Why the Vipers? Why not a law club or some, business fraternity?
It's a great question, and the sources are clear on this. It's because the hockey program gives them the perfect blend of public adoration and immediate physical control.
It's carrot and the stick.
Exactly. The sources explicitly characterize the Vipers as one of Vencor's multiple tentacles. It serves two primary functions. First, recruitment.
Right.
It allows Vencor to identify and select these physically and mentally dominant young men who are already accustomed to extreme aggression, pain, and loyalty to a team. They're pre-vetted, in a way.
And the second function.
Control. The team, led by Kane, ensures that the campus is under control. It acts as a localized base for Vencor operations. It's where they handle issues.
Like what kind of issues?
The sources give an example. There's this character named Fred, a member who dared to try and operate a drug ring outside of Vencor's designated parameters. He was eliminated, swiftly and brutally.
By the hockey team.
By members of the hockey team. They use that star power, that public image as heroes to hide their absolute ruthlessness.
So a Vipers jersey, especially a senior one, it equals immediate, unchallengeable authority in Greystone.
You've got it.
Which leads us perfectly into part 2.
Yeah.
The infiltrator's vow. I mean, if this world is a closed, impenetrable fortress, how does an outsider like Dahlia Thorne even begin to contemplate breaching it?
Dahlia's entire chance of success is rooted in her survival profile. She is not some privileged student playing detective.
No, she's the opposite.
She is a product of immense childhood hardship. She lost her parents in a car accident at age 6. It was a trauma that she, unjustly internalized as her own fault.
And after that?
She endured the abusive foster care system. The sources paint a grim picture. She developed street smarts and a sharp intellect purely for survival, not for grades, not for a career, but to make it to the next day.
And her entire emotional infrastructure, her whole world, it relied on one person.
One person. Violet, her older foster sister. Violet is described as her lifeline. She was the sole source of protection, stability, and affection in her entire life.
So when Vencor members attacked Violet, leaving her in a coma,
Dahlia lost her only tether to sanity. Her motives shifted from mere survival to complete, focused vengeance. The sources say she wanted the perpetrators to suffer, not just be caught, but to suffer.
And the initial clue she had was so thin, it's amazing she got anywhere with it.
It was incredibly thin. Violet's journal contained this cryptic reference to a man wearing a black ring with unintelligible symbols on it.
That's it.
That's it. But Dahlia's focus is like a laser. She eventually was able to cross-reference this when she saw a Vipers player, a team notorious for being untouchable, wearing a similar ring on television.
And that's the moment the obsession begins.
It ignites. She became, and the source uses this phrase, an expert on this bunch of snakes. She learns their patterns, their play styles, their schedules. Her infiltration strategy was meticulously calculated.
Starting small.
Very small. Applying for medical intern positions, administrative roles, anything to get proximity, just to be in the same building.
But she quickly realized that peripheral access wouldn't be enough.
Not even close. The real power, the real mechanism of Vencor lay at the very top. To get close to that, she had to target the single most influential figure on campus.
The captain, Kane Davenport.
The captain. It was the highest risk, highest reward strategy she could possibly come up with.
In that confrontation scene, when he finds her in the arena, it shows just how perceptive he is. He doesn't treat her like a fan or a groupie.
Not for a second. He instantly assesses her as a threat based on tiny details. She's not wearing a Vipers jersey. She has this incredibly detailed knowledge of his personal playstyle, not just his stats. And the critical point.
He keeps glancing at his ring.
She can't stop looking at his senior Vencor ring. He doesn't even ask her what she wants. He deduces it. He calls her out, saying her agenda has more to do with my ring than with him or the team.
And this is a real test for her. A test of strength.
It is. Dahlia knows that if she lies, if she deflects, she's done. She'll be eliminated. So instead, she chooses this radical honesty, a kind of fearlessness that Kane clearly rarely encounters.
She just lays it all out.
She admits her goal is not just access, but to be invited to the upcoming initiation. And to prove she's not bluffing, she proves her research by correctly naming all the ranks she knows.
Trial, member, senior, and founder.
And Kane is just stunned, but it raises a huge question.
Right. If Vencor protocol demands that nosy outsiders be eliminated, why does he agree to her demand? Why would he risk the society's security for one, ambitious student?
And this is a crucial pivot in his character. It's driven by his own psychological conditioning. Kane is a machine designed to calculate risks and rewards, but Dahlia is this unknown variable.
She doesn't fit the pattern.
She doesn't. And he's deeply curious about her blend of intelligence and sheer aggressive ambition. The sources suggest he sees her as this fascinating exception to the standard, wealthy, entitled recruits they usually bring in. She's earned her way here through grit, not birthright.
So he grants her this deal. He agrees to take her in as his recruit instead of the person he'd originally intended.
But his warning is severe. He makes the true stakes crystal clear. He says, "This is not your run-of-the-mill initiation. You'll be asked to offer your body and soul at the altar of demented people."
And he gives her a safe word.
He gives her the safe word, red. It's a clear, if-conditional escape mechanism, which, in a way, demonstrates this dark form of respect for her resilience. He's acknowledging that what he's about to put her through might be too much, even for her.
But he admits later, right, that his motives weren't compassionate.
Yeah, not at all. He admitted later the reason he brought her in was rooted in his own dark need for control and observation. He didn't sympathize with her. He wanted to see her on her knees. He wanted to watch her struggle, to see if she could prove her worthiness in the most brutal way possible.
So the deal itself sets the stage for a relationship built entirely on power and submission.
And that leads us directly into the devastating content of Part 3.
Right. So achieving access to Vencor required Dahlia to survive something truly horrific, the initiation trials. This is a process designed not just to induct, but to completely destroy the initiate's sense of self and independence.
Yeah.
Let's dive into how Vencor uses trauma as a weapon.
The entire initiation is engineered for maximum mental and physical breakdown. The goal is to ensure absolute emotional and physical submission to the society. And the first trial, it targets the mind and the soul.
Where does it take place?
She's led into this dark, oppressive tunnel or a cave-like setting. It's disorienting, it's cold, and the test focuses entirely on her deepest, most crippling trauma.
The death of your parents.
The death of her parents, which she blames herself for. She believes she distracted her father right before the fatal crash. It's a wound she's carried since she was 6 years old.
And they know this. They know this is her weak point.
Oh, they've done their homework. The sequence begins with psychological manipulation. She hears her deceased mother's voice, which is immediately followed by this visual barrage.
What did you see?
First, a beautiful old home video of her first steps. It's her only memory, her only image of her mother. It's designed to bring her to an emotional high, to open her up.
And then they pull the rug out.
Immediately. That beautiful memory is shattered by the introduction of grainy, traumatic road surveillance footage of the car crash itself, on a loop, over and over.
And the sources emphasize this isn't just watching a video, it's a full sensory overload.
Completely. The sound component was deafening. Loud, repeating horns, the sound of the impact, screams, coupled with a chemically induced projection of the smell and the metallic taste of blood. The accident fills the entire space. And this is where the system exploits her internalized guilt. The spectral voices of her parents are introduced into the soundscape, and they relentlessly ask her, "Why did you kill us, Dahlia?"
So they're literally making her believe she's a murderer.
They are reducing her to a 6-year-old child reliving the absolute worst moment of her life. She's screaming, she's crying, she's feeling the profound, crushing weight of that guilt. It is a calculated, systematic attempt to break her will and render her completely compliant.
But here's the critical point of her character arc.
Yes,
Despite being emotionally shattered, despite the pain, she refuses to use the safe word. She doesn't say red.
her resilience is just profound. She stands firm for Violet's sake. The trauma is immense, but her vengeance motive, the need to protect the one person left who needs her, it overrides her instinct for self-preservation.
She passes the psychological test.
She passes by proving she can endure unimaginable pain for a purpose greater than herself. And in doing so, she demonstrates the exact ruthless focus that Vencor looks for in its members. It's a twisted validation.
And after surviving that mental gauntlet, she moves immediately to the physical and sexual trial.
That's right. The tester is introduced. He's described as a tall, menacing figure in a black plague doctor, or perhaps a serpentine mask.
Which conceals that it's Kane.
It's Kane. And this is where the concept of ritualized submission, using those terms we mentioned earlier, dub-con, consensual non-con, primal play, comes into sharp focus within the narrative framework of the initiation.
Vencor requires total physical surrender.
Total. Kane is cold, calculated, terrifying. This is not intimacy. It is a demonstration of absolute power. He explicitly degrades her, forcing her submission using the harshest language imaginable. Slut. Dirty little whore.
And the goal of this triad isn't pleasure, it's about power.
The goal is to enforce the Vencor power dynamic, where the initiate has absolutely no agency. The sources make it clear that Kane refuses to let her reach climax. He emphasizes that this is entirely about his use of her body, not her pleasure or satisfaction. He tells her flat out, "This isn't about you, slut." It is a calculated act designed to mix pain and pleasure until she accepts that her body is merely a tool for the society.
And her survival of this trial leads directly to the acceptance ceremony.
Immediately. This submission is formalized right away. Kane takes a knife, he cuts both their index fingers, and he mixes their blood in a shared cup. It's this symbolic, dark ritual of bonding and really ownership.
And then he uses the blood.
He uses the mixed blood to draw the serpent symbol, the Vencor emblem, on her forehead. And his welcome is just chilling. He whispers, "Welcome to hell, Dahlia."
So now she's officially a trial Vencor member, bound to Kane, the senior member who brought her in. She has the access she needed, but the cost was everything.
Her body and her soul. And the warning remains explicit. Any disclosure, any betrayal will cost her her life. The trials are over, but the consequence of that destructive relationship has only just begun.
You know, what stands out here is that Kane's agreement to the deal was a trap for Dahlia. But the intensity of the initiation also served as a dark prelude to the genuine emotional chaos that follows.
That's a great point. He brought in a woman who, unlike him, is not broken by the trauma, but galvanized by it. And that is a very dangerous miscalculation on his part.
Which brings us to part 4, the escalation of the hunt in family secrets. Dahlia now has internal access. She wastes absolutely no time. Her immediate priority is using her proximity to find Violet's aggressor.
She immediately weaponizes their forced intimacy. It's brilliant, in a way. Dahlia secretly collects DNA samples, specifically Kane's semen and saliva, after their encounters.
Not just his, right?
No. She also gets samples from other key players and Vencor members like Price and Novak. She has to be incredibly careful, and she tests them meticulously against the sample she has from Violet. This is an immense, dangerous effort. She's trying to find a needle in a very, very secure haystack.
And the results?
All negative.
All of them.
All of them. And this is a critical development for her. It means her core target, the aggressor, is still hidden. It's likely a higher-ranking Vencor member she hasn't gotten to yet. Her assumption that it was a Viper was correct, but her specific targets were wrong.
So the hunt continues.
It continues, and it narrows her focus. Now she's looking at the Viper's defensemen, Gavin, Ryder, and Hunter, knowing they are also confirmed Vencor members. But while she's calculating her revenge, Kane is undergoing his own profound internal shift.
He becomes intensely possessive and controlling.
Instantly.
Yeah.
The sort of transactional nature of their initiation relationship rapidly evolves into this raw territorial ownership. The sources say he sees Dahlia as his thing.
Something to be claimed and protected.
Exactly. And this territoriality, it isn't romantic in the traditional sense, not at all. It's about power projection. He uses his status to sideline other interested parties,
Including Preston.
including intimidating Preston, who is notoriously volatile and deadly into losing interest in her. He's demonstrating his influence over the inner circle. He's saying, she's mine.
Yet, he still struggles with any kind of emotional vulnerability. He tells her flatly, I don't get emotionally attached to the people I fuck.
He claims her physically while desperately denying the emotional reality of their bond. It's a massive contradiction.
And the narrative then gives us this huge insight into Kane's own psychological landscape, and it comes from his mother, Helena.
Right. Dahlia visits the Davenport mansion, which is described with this oppressive detail. It smells of aged wood and leather, but it also metaphorically reeks of death and repression. It's not a home. It's a mausoleum.
And Helena, his mother, is almost a ghost in it.
She is. She's chronically depressed, emotionally absent, basically a casualty of the environment. And she drops the ultimate revelation. She explains that Kane's coldness, his detached nature, and the severe, extensive scars on his back and shoulders. They are not from hockey. They are not accidental.
They are the result of systematic abuse.
For a decade, physical, mental, and specific poison training orchestrated by his own father, Grant Davenport, starting when he was just 6 years old.
Poison training. That detail is so jarring. What does that specifically entail in the source material?
The training had one single purpose: to strip Kane of all empathy and emotional response, to make him into a tool. Helena describes how Grant systematically used low-dose toxins to weaken Kane physically,
Oh my God.
coupled with constant mental degradation and physical beatings designed to enforce obedience and psychological numbness. Grant's objective was to forge Kane into an emotionless, ruthless machine, perfectly fit to be the Davenport heir and the future Vencor founder.
And Helena just...
Watched. She admits, with this overwhelming guilt, that she failed to protect him. She failed to protect the sweet boy he once was. She just let it happen.
This revelation, it has to shift Dahlia's entire perspective on him.
It changes everything for her. She stops seeing Kane as the invincible hockey god and monarch, and she starts seeing him as another victim, someone conditioned and tortured by his father, just in a different way than she was by the system.
And that knowledge fuels a protective instinct in her.
It does. It mirrors the fierce loyalty she feels for Violet. It creates this powerful, dangerous new layer to her mission. She's not just using him anymore. She starts to care.
And at the same time, the underlying Vencor politics are reaching a flashpoint.
That's right. We learn that Kane isn't just a loyal heir waiting his turn. He's secretly planning a coup against his father.
He wants to take over.
He's actively trying to depose Grant from the Vencor founder position and seize control of the entire Davenport empire. For years, he's been covertly gathering intelligence on Grant's executives, actively sabotaging his father's business ventures. He sees Grant as an outdated hindrance to his own calculated progress.
But Grant Davenport is not a fool. He's not easily outmaneuvered.
No. He eventually discovers everything. Dahlia's real motives, the DNA tests she's been running, and crucially, her burgeoning emotional bond with Kane.
How does he find out?
Through a Detective Collins, who is firmly established as Grant's compromised asset inside the police force, Grant has eyes and ears everywhere.
So he uses this information to create the ultimate trap.
The ultimate, most painful trap. It's designed not to kill Dahlia, but to shatter Kane's emotional resistance once and for all. Grant reveals that Kane actually gave up his long-planned, meticulously executed takeover of the Davenport empire.
Why?
Specifically because of his distraction and his emotional entanglement with Dahlia. She has become his weakness.
So to break Kane and turn him back into a controllable asset, Grant issues a devastating ultimatum to Dahlia.
He orders her to end the relationship immediately. She has to tell Kane she never cared about him and that his only worth to her was his power and his access to Vencor.
And if she refuses?
If she fails to do this convincingly, Grant will ensure Violet is harmed, or worse.
This is the critical moral collapse for Dahlia. Her two core loyalties, vengeance for Violet and now this new protection of Kane, are forced into direct, irreconcilable conflict.
She realizes the only way to save Kane from his father's psychological dominance is to destroy him emotionally. She has to force him to hate her, to make him revert to being the cold, useful machine his father requires.
But before Dahlia can fully execute this self-sacrifice, the narrative introduces a major twist.
A huge one.
The Julian Callahan revelation. It recontextualizes everything she thought she knew.
Julian Callahan, the Vencor founder who owns the hospital, he's the key player here, he reveals the astonishing truth about Violet's condition.
She wasn't in a coma.
Not for months, no. Julian discloses that Violet actually woke up shortly after the initial attack. She then entered into a voluntary agreement with Julian
A deal. To do what?
to test his new experimental coma-mimicking drug. It was a disguise, a way to hide from Jude Callahan.
Jude.
Julian confirms Jude was the actual aggressor. He was stalking Violet.
Wow. So this whole time, Violet was being monitored in the hospital, protected by the very pharmaceutical empire tied to Vencor.
Exactly. And Julian's motives are complex and highly selfish. He benefits from the drug research, obviously, but he's also just annoyed by the uncontrollable chaos that Jude and other Vencor members cause. He views the entire situation with this cold scientific detachment. He's playing his own game.
And Julian confirms that Jude gave Violet's file to Kane.
Yes, and was actively hunting her. This revelation partially exonerates Kane from the initial attack, but it confirms he knew about the hunt and had an underlying suspicion of Dahlia's true intentions from the very beginning. It explains his intense possessiveness and control.
So Julian offers Dahlia a way out.
He does. He tells her she can disappear with Violet immediately, but it comes with a condition.
She still has to break Kane.
She still has to follow Grant's directive and break Kane first. Julian believes that a heartbroken Kane is safer from his father's wrath, and safer for Julian's own complicated political ecosystem.
And Dahlia accepts this burden. She believes that breaking Kane emotionally is the only way to protect him from Grant's destructive control. This brings us to part 5, the final sacrifice and the price of vengeance.
The farewell tour begins. It's heartbreaking. Dahlia takes Kane on a road trip to her poor coastal hometown in Maine.
It's highly symbolic. It's a conscious, physical return to her roots. It's her way of saying goodbye to the man she loves by showing him the world she came from, the world she must now return to for protection.
And she forces them to power off their phones. It's a calculated move to prevent Kane from discovering Violet's imminent kidnapping and transfer. It's a final act of necessary betrayal for what she believes is his safety.
And Kane, totally unaware of the trap, finds himself experiencing genuine vulnerability for the first time.
He does. He admits to her that he had never chased a woman before her, that he only felt a real urge when she bulldozed through his perfectly constructed life. He's opening up right as she's preparing to destroy him.
But the moment is fleeting.
Completely. As soon as Kane returns to his car and powers on his phone, the web of betrayal snaps shut. He gets frantic texts from Jude confirming that Violet has been taken, a medical transfer orchestrated by his brother and Grant.
He
instantly realizes the entire Maine trip was Dahlia's goodbye. It was her self-sacrificial attempt to protect him by leaving her broken. And in that moment, the fog of his emotional conditioning lifts entirely.
He speeds back to Greystone, focused and ruthless. But Dahlia has already made her move.
She's consumed by rage. For what Grant did to Kane, to Violet, to everyone, she attempts to preempt the confrontation.
She goes after Grant herself.
She finds him at the Davenport estate and attempts to kill him with a scalpel. But she fails. She's brutally overpowered, kicked, and then subjected to the ultimate personalized psychological torture by Grant.
He doesn't just hurt her.
Now, he utilizes the very physical manifestation of Kane's own systematic abuse. Grant hangs Dahlia in Kane's old childhood torture dungeon, the chains, the icy water, the beating. He makes her feel what Kane felt for all those years.
It's the ultimate act of psychological cruelty.
It is. It's designed to ensure that if Kane is to be broken, he must witness the destruction of his most treasured new possession in the place where he himself was broken.
But this timing, this final act of abuse committed in that sacred, horrific space of his childhood suffering, it backfires.
Massively. It snaps the last chain binding Kane to his father's control. Kane arrives. The sources detail his reaction. He's silent, precise, and lethally violent. He raises his voice at his mother for the first time in years, defying her passive complicity. Then he moves with silent precision, killing Grant's guards one by one.
The final confrontation is intimate and brutal.
It is. Kane stands before his father, holding the gun flat against his own temple, and he starts laughing. A manic laugh at the realization of how twisted he had become, the perfect, horrifying result of Grant's conditioning.
And in that moment, he mentally breaks free.
Completely free. He realizes, I'm not the one built wrong. He is. The metaphorical chains of Grant's influence just break. He uses his father's own logic, that becoming like Grant is the ultimate goal to justify the final action.
And he kills him.
He shoots and kills Grant Davenport, and he states clearly, messing with her was only the last straw. The murder is a culmination of decades of abuse, committed for himself as much as for Dahlia. He has chosen his emotional vulnerability over his inherited empire.
The aftermath, then, requires this raw, difficult reconciliation. Dahlia confronts him over all his lies and omissions.
And she has every right to. The DNA test, his initial knowledge of Violet's attack, his overall calculated behavior from the start.
And Kane's confession is the emotional core of the resolution. It's the justification for their intense, dark bond.
He admits that while his actions started with calculation, with control, everything shifted. He tells her he couldn't live without her. His obsession had conquered him heart and soul, forcing him to choose her warmth, her nosiness, or her spirit that overflows into mine over the entire Davenport empire.
And the source material confirms that Dahlia accepts him. Their relationship is just, defined by this intense possessiveness, loyalty, and their shared history of trauma.
They're two broken pieces that fit together perfectly. They find comfort in their shared intensity and ruthlessness.
And Kane immediately uses his new authority to ensure safety.
First thing he does, he forces Jude Callahan to delete Violet's name from his hit list, securing her safety from his friend's violent and still very much uncontrolled urges. The threat, however, remains active.
So let's summarize what we've learned here.
Yeah.
We've tracked a high-level vengeance mission that resulted in, regicide and a complicated dark romance.
And we have to recap the Vencor structure and the founding family's comprehensive roles. Vencor is not just a club. It's an integrated power system controlling trade, energy, and critically medicine.
With the high-profile Vipers hockey team serving as a recruitment shield and a localized tool for control.
I think the most surprising nugget we found in all this material is the deep psychological cost of inherited power versus the psychology of survival.
Yeah, explain that.
Kane was systematically abused and conditioned since age 6 to become an emotionless machine. And he found this intense, compatible bond with Dahlia, who was galvanized by her profound guilt over her parents' accident and her all-consuming need for protective vengeance.
They found their specific form of loyalty and protection in the very things Vencor used to break them.
Exactly. Primal play, intensity, shared ruthlessness. Their respective traumas dictated their adult needs, leading them to this twisted, but for them, sustainable form of comfort in ownership and destruction.
But the narrative leaves us with immense moral complexity. Kane is a murderer now. Yes, a meticulous one who chose Dahlia, but he's still a killer. And the Vencor structure remains, with volatile elements like Jude's uncontrolled violence and Preston's chaos still active.
And we can't forget Julian Callahan, the cold, calculating founder who controls the medical complex. He warned Kane that he is now necessary to maintain the Davenport power structure. The struggle for control is far from over.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider.
In a world where one of the main protectors is a meticulous killer, and the family unit relies on shared destruction and hunting, can Dahlia and Violet ever truly be safe? Or is their relationship with Kane simply the most dangerous yet protective form of loyalty they could ever find in Greystone?
Is loyalty enough to dismantle the system, or have they just secured the most toxic position within it?
That's the question.
That analysis perfectly distills the inherent danger of their resolution. You have truly guided us through a complex, dark world today, providing the essential context needed to understand this intense narrative.
The deep dive is complete.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.